The little brother nobody was watching. Until he beat everyone. An 18-year-old walked out onto a gymnastics floor in China, in front of the toughest continental field in Asia, in the very first senior competition of his career, and he didn't just survive it. He medaled. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why people are starting to whisper that Philippine gymnastics might be about to produce a second superstar, not a spare one. A name you're about to hear a lot more of. Here's the twist nobody saw coming: this kid almost didn't make the final at all. He barely scraped in. And what he did once he got there is the kind of moment that changes a career overnight. If you've never heard his name before today, you're about to. And if you want to see where this story goes next, because it's still being written, make sure you hit subscribe before we get into it. His name is Karl Jahrel Eldrew Yulo. Most people just call him Eldrew. And on June 20th, 2026, inside the Zunyi Olympic Sports Center in China, he stood on an Asian Championships podium for the first time in his senior career. Not a junior podium. Not an exhibition. A senior international medal, at the 13th Senior Asian Artistic Gymnastics Championships, against some of the deepest gymnastics programs on the entire continent. Growing up inside the shadow. To understand why this moment matters so much, you have to understand where Eldrew came from, and who he grew up standing next to. Eldrew was born in January 2008, in Manila, the third of 4 children in the Yulo household. And yes, that surname is the one you're already thinking of. His older brother is Carlos Yulo, the most decorated gymnast the Philippines has ever produced, a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and one of the most recognizable athletes in the entire country. Growing up, Eldrew didn't have some dramatic discovery story. Nobody spotted him mid-flip at a playground. He simply grew up inside gymnastics, watching his brother's career unfold in real time, on television, at competitions, in conversations at home, absorbing the sport by proximity, years before he ever competed in it seriously himself. He went to Aurora A. Quezon Elementary School, then Adamson University, splitting his adolescence between the classroom and the gym, almost exactly the way Carlos had a decade before him. But here's the thing about growing up next to a legend: everyone assumes you're either going to disappear into the shadow, or spend your whole career being compared to it. Eldrew's story is what happens when a kid decides to do neither. Proving he belonged, one step at a time. His first real international test came in 2023, at the Asian Junior Artistic Gymnastics Championships in Singapore. He was 15 years old, on his very first trip outside the Philippines, facing junior programs from countries with far bigger budgets and far deeper training pipelines than anything back home. He made 2 apparatus finals, vault and floor exercise, and walked away with a silver medal on vault. Not gold. Silver. And that mattered, because it was proof this wasn't a fairy tale handed to him because of his last name. It was a real result, earned against real competition, that put his name into the sport's international conversation for the very first time. Then came 2024. At that year's Asian Junior Championships, Eldrew turned that silver into gold on vault, becoming a continental junior champion at just 16 years old. Around that same time, he committed to training in Tokyo, Japan, under coach Rayland Capellan, chasing a level of coaching the domestic program back home simply couldn't offer, retracing, almost step for step, the same path his brother had walked nearly a decade earlier. In 2025, something historic happened. The Junior World Artistic Gymnastics Championships came to Manila, hosted in the Philippines for the very first time in the event's history. A home crowd. A home country. Eldrew qualified for 4 separate finals: the all-around, floor exercise, vault, and horizontal bar. He walked away with 2 bronze medals, on floor exercise and horizontal bar, becoming the first Filipino gymnast in history to medal at a Junior World Championships. The jump nobody eases into. By November 2025, Eldrew made it official: he was moving up to senior international competition for 2026. And he didn't ease into it quietly. In March 2026, he reached the finals at the Baku World Cup in Azerbaijan. Just weeks later, at the World Cup stop in Antalya, Turkey, he won gold on floor exercise, and picked up 2 more bronze medals across that same World Cup series, all before the year was even half over. A kid barely out of his teens, already collecting senior international hardware at a pace almost nobody in Philippine gymnastics had realistically planned for this soon. The moment everything changed. And then came Zunyi. Eldrew scraped into the floor exercise final in 8th place after qualifying, with a score of 13.600, the last spot available, no cushion, no margin for error. It was the kind of qualifying score that gets you into the room, but doesn't guarantee you belong in the conversation once you're there. Then, in the final itself, with his own brother competing right beside him for the exact same title, everything changed. Carlos delivered a commanding routine worth 14.700 points, claiming his 5th consecutive Asian floor exercise gold and his 12th Asian Championships title overall. Japan's Shoma Jukiyama took silver with 14.600. And Eldrew, under that exact pressure, in his very first Senior Asian Championships final, delivered a 14.300, the best score of his young senior career, to claim bronze. It was enough to hold off China's Li Hongyan, who finished just off the podium with 14.066, and Yang Haonan in 5th with 13.933. A 1-3 finish for the Philippines. The first time in history the Yulo brothers had shared a senior international podium together. The connection bigger than gymnastics itself. Now here's where this story connects to a name that reaches far beyond the sport of gymnastics entirely. Manny Pacquiao, the only 8th Division World Boxing Champion in history, has built a well-documented habit over the years of personally rewarding the Philippines' breakout athletes the moment they arrive on the country's biggest stages. He's never publicly disclosed the exact amounts, the same way he kept quiet about what he gave weightlifter Hidilyn Diaz after her silver medal in Rio and her historic gold medal in Tokyo. Pacquiao hasn't made any public comment about Eldrew yet. But if you know the pattern, a fighter who rose out of poverty in General Santos City and has spent years quietly rewarding the country's rising stars the moment they break through, it's fair to wonder how much longer that silence lasts now that a second Yulo has an Asian Championships medal of his own. Writing his own story, not a sequel. Through all of it, Eldrew has stayed careful about defining his own path rather than living permanently in someone else's shadow. He's talked about the importance of gaining experience and walking his own path, even while chasing the same ultimate goal his brother already achieved twice. And that might be the most important detail in this entire story. Eldrew doesn't need to become a copy of Carlos Yulo. He needs to become the first Eldrew Yulo, and based on 2026 alone, that process is already well underway. This medal in Zunyi was his 4th podium finish of the year, on top of the gold and 2 bronzes he'd already picked up across the World Cup series just months earlier. What comes next? And what comes next is already public knowledge. The Gymnastics Association of the Philippines wants to send a full men's team to the Los Angeles 2028 Olympics, and if this trajectory holds, Eldrew is expected to be part of it. The Asian Games in Nagoya come this September. The World Championships in Rotterdam come after that. And somewhere past both of those sits a start line in Los Angeles that a kid from Manila, who grew up learning this sport almost entirely by watching it unfold around him, might actually reach on his own merit, wearing the flag for the first time on the biggest stage there is. So here's the question worth sitting with: does Eldrew Yulo make it all the way to an Olympic Games of his own? Drop your prediction in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this story pulled you in the way it pulled me in, make sure you're subscribed, because Eldrew Yulo's story is nowhere near done being written.